Okay, perfect. So let's finish off with our last module here. So here we're just going to take a look at some of the group plans in addition to the government plans that are available. So the first one here that we have is DSPS, which stands for Deferred Profit Sharing Plan. And with this plan, the plan sponsor is the one who's going to decide the eligibility for this plan. And so it's employer driven only. So that means that the employee is not making any contributions to this plan, and it is mainly just taking place with the employer only. All right, perfect. So it is employer driven only, and it is employer is the one who is putting in the money for this. And how it works is that it takes 2 years. You're vested in 2 years. That means that is when your money becomes locked in after the 2-year process. And the benefits are it can be lump sum, you can have an annuity, transfer, the RSP. So there's a lot of sort of ways that you can structure this out, right? So that the key thing here is that this is a sort of an employer driven plan. The next one that we're going to look at is a very, very important one. 100% will be on your exam, 1 or 2 questions. Is RRSP. And the good thing about this is that we've talked about this, I think, in at least 2 or I think all of the modules we talked about RRSP. So it shouldn't be something that's totally brand new. So RRSP stands for Registered Retirement Savings Plan. And just like the name states, it is for saving for retirement, right? And what's great about this, or what people really, really like about this plan, is that whatever amount you're putting into this plan, you can take out of your income. So your taxes that you're paying yearly is going to be lower because you're putting money into this plan. So how much can you put? Well, you can put, there is a yearly maximum, which is usually given in the question because that number is constantly changing, or 18% of the earned income. Now, the word earned income is important. Because if you have things such as like alimony, that will be deducted from your income. So whatever you're left with is considered your earned income, right? So either 18% of your earned income or the yearly maximum, whichever is a lower amount, that's what you will be allowed to put in. And that is tax deductible. So you're able to take that right off of your salary, and you're not, pretty much it's tax-free money at this point, right? And we're always looking at the previous year. So if we're talking about this year, we look at the income from the previous year. That's how this is done. And contribution to RPP. So if you're contributing to any other registered pension plans with your employer, that's going to reduce how much you're going to contribute to your own RRSP, because at the end of the day, it's all for the same purpose. So the calculations all end up and we pull from here and there, right? So that's important. What if you haven't used the full amount? Let's say you're able to put in, I don't know, 10,000 this year, but you didn't have that much, or you couldn't put it in, or something happened and you only put in 5. So you have 5,000 that you could have put in, but you didn't. So you are allowed to use carry forward. So if you didn't put in a certain amount, like up to the maximum, you can carry that amount up to the next year, right? So that 5,000 is not gone lost. It can be added on to the next year. And you also have a one-time over contribution of $2,000. So if you have carry forwards that you are adding, and you're adding the one-time $2,000 over contribution, even if it goes above that yearly maximum or 18% of your earned income, that's okay, because it's including carry forwards and it's including your over contribution. So the 18% of the earned of your earned income is applying to how much you can put this year. But if you have things from previous years that you have carry forwards that you didn't use, you can add those in. So those are allowed. You are allowed to split it with your spouse. And again, this is something that can have tax advantages and have tax savings. And there's a lot of great examples in your book of questions which have a lot of good calculations that you can also refer to. And in our exam prep session, we'll be doing those questions as well. So here is just trying to get you to understand the content, right? However, this is now the part that a lot of people don't like, or one of the least favorite parts, is that 100% of it is taxed on withdrawal. Because this is pre-tax money, right? You have not paid tax on it before. You have just put it into your, it's taken right out of your income pretty much, and it's going straight into the RSP. So the idea is that either now or later, you are going to pay tax on it. So whenever you take it out, every dollar is going to be taxed. So that's important to understand. And also it does have an age limit of 71. So after 71, you're no longer able to make contributions to this plan anymore. You can convert it to a RRIF, which stands for Registered Retirement Income Fund, so that there are other plans that it can be converted to once you've sort of maxed out and put the most in here. So that is something that is that people do also enjoy, that is they have the option to sort of convert to other plans, and that is it is allowed to do. And what it is for RRIF, it is a minimum, it's kind of like a life annuity, and you are able to roll that over. So if any death occurs, you're able to roll that over to the spouse, even if the spouse is younger. So it has a lot of its own advantages, and we talked about this in a previous module as well, so I don't want to repeat the same information again, but the idea here is that there are other plans that once you've reached that age 71, you're no longer able to make contributions here, but you can convert it to another registered plan. And RRSP does have other non-RRSP uses. What does that mean? That it is meant for retirement. However, there are other things that you can use this plan for. And first-time homebuyers is one of those things that's a great advantage. Now, what's considered first-time homebuyer? Does it always just mean the first time? No. So if somebody has not owned a home in the last 4 years, they're considered to be a first-time homebuyer. Even if they owned it like 5, 6, 10 years ago, but they haven't owned one in the last 4 years, they're considered to be first-time homebuyers. And they're able to take $25,000 out of their RRSP tax-free to use, and that's the time when you really need money, so you can use that money for your home. And if it's a couple, you have two spouses that both have their own RRSP, each of them can withdraw $25,000. That's $50,000 that they would have tax-free at a time when they need it, when they're purchasing a home. And you have to put that back in 15 years. So it is great because it's not immediate that you have to put that back in the next year, 2 years. So you do have some time to sort of put that money back, but it has to be put back. So you're just taking it out temporarily. All right. Okay, moving on. The next plan that we're going to talk about is a TFSA. It's not really a registered plan, but it's a very important and very popular plan. So I did want to just quickly talk about it here. So it's not tax deductible. So whatever you're putting into TFSA, you're not taking it off of your salary. Unlike with RRSP, you're saving tax on that because you're taking it, you're deducting it from your salary. Here, you're not taking it out. And because you're not taking it out, it's not going to be taxed once you withdraw either, right? And the maximum here is $5,500 that you're able to contribute. There's no age limit that's allowed. So it doesn't matter if you're 71, unlike with RRSP, you can still continue to contribute. And you do have carry forward that you can be used in the following year, right? So this is becoming a very popular sort of product that a lot of people enjoy putting money in, investing their money in. And then the last plan that we're going to talk about here is an RESP, which is Registered Education Savings Plan. And just as the name states, the purpose here is for education. You're saving for your kids' post-secondary education. And what's good about doing it here, what's the purpose of having this plan specifically, is because there's education grants that you're eligible for. So you can get a 20% education grant up to a maximum of $7,500, because the government wants to encourage people saving for their kids' future in education and kids actually going and getting that post-secondary education. So they give grants to help encourage. So that is something that's there. And because this is also you're putting money into it, so it's you're not paying tax. It is going to be taxed when the child withdraws that money for their post-secondary. So that's something important to keep in mind. All right, now these are all the different plans that we are going to talk about today, and book goes over a few more. So it would be a good idea to always just refresh your memory with that. And the last thing I want to finish off for this module is net worth. We talked about it, I believe, in our third module for life insurance, so we're going to come back to it. So net worth, what it is figuring out how much assets someone has versus their liabilities. Now, what's the difference between assets and liabilities? So what we're doing is we're trying to assess the client's financial situation. We're trying to see, what do they have that's going to kind of add to their, add money to their account or add to their profile versus that's kind of taking money away. All right, so for assets, we have things such as a home. Obviously, the asset that can be included here. If they own a vehicle, if it's leased, then that's not really an asset. But if they own it, then that's an asset. If they have RRSPs, if they have TFSAs, what's important to remember here and what always everyone messes up with on the exam is for life insurance policies, it's the cash surrender value only, CSV only. Why? Because we're trying to figure out how much, where is this person's money kind of sitting in different places. They don't necessarily have to have cash, but they may have home, they may have cars, they may have cottage, they may have different things that they have their money invested in. All that is still adding to their net worth. Cash surrender value, because if they have a policy that if they surrender today and they're able to get $50,000, that's theirs. But we cannot include the death benefit because they're never going to get that. There's a beneficiary that's going to get that. So we never include the death benefit. And when you have a question on the exam, which you most likely will, that's going to ask you to calculate the net worth of someone, remember that you're not including the death benefit. And you don't have to memorize what is considered to be asset, what is considered to be liabilities. I'm just sharing some examples with you, but there's a table in the book that says assets and it lists all of the assets, and liabilities and it lists all the liabilities. So in our exam prep sessions, I'll show you how to get to that table within like a 3-second search, and you have the full table there with you, and you can just compare your question and see what to calculate, what to use for your calculation and what not to include. But just the key thing I want you to remember is that cash surrender value only can be included for asset, but not the death benefit, right? And for liabilities, what are things that are included? So the mortgages. So the mortgage that's left on the home, the cottage, those properties, those are going to be counted as liabilities. If they have a line of credit, if they have any sort of car loans or credit card loans or RSP loans, all of those things are liabilities. So where do they owe money to? That's liabilities, right? All of those things are considered liabilities. So you would take how much their assets are, take the total value minus the total value of liabilities, and the leftover numbers, which is usually in a dollar amount, is the net worth of the client, okay? All right, guys, so we finished off with a lot in this session, and I did just want to put it all in one because they do kind of still interlink, so we can kind of see how much is, how to do that. And again, there's, if you join for the exam prep sessions, I will show you how to find this information very quickly, because remember, it is an open book exam, so there's no memorization of any sort needed. We want to focus on understanding the concepts, and then we have the book to help us, and if we get stuck somewhere, we always have that book. All right, perfect. So thank you so much for joining, and make sure you guys watch it thoroughly, take your notes, and join for the exam prep session so we can go over any other questions that you may have at that point. Thank you.